Good evening, good evening, good evening. It's Thursday evening, it's 8 p.m. and guess what? It's time for Liming with Sylvia. Hi, welcome. And joining me today is my special guest, Bruce Scott. I'll show him to you in a minute. All right, now let's talk about Bruce Scott for a bit. He's the author and teacher of the course 14 Steps to Financial Freedom: How to Grow, Protect, and Sow Your Money. He's also a chartered accountant with a heart for helping people to achieve financial freedom. And let me tell you, even have only experience behind him name. He's also the youngest Jamaican to become really the charters. I need coffee. He became one of the youngest Jamaican chartered accountants ever at age 21, notwithstanding the challenges he faced while growing up in humble beginnings in the volatile inner city community of Southside, downtown Kingston, Jamaica. Now, it says here he holds 10 credentials in a wide cross section of fields: finance, business, information technology, account, and risk management. And that's not 10. So, you know that we're not going to even go into the whole list, because what we want to do now is introduce Bruce and let him tell us a little bit about growing up in Southside and how you decided. Oops, sorry, Bruce. I should have put you in the program, right? How you decided that finance was where you wanted to go.
All right, Sylvia, thank you so much for being on your program. Good evening, everyone. What it was like growing up in Southside. So my mom, I grew up with my mother. Four of us, I'm the eldest one. We used to live in tenement yards. My mother had 11 siblings. And so you can imagine the whole heap of people in the small.
Yes. Well, I can only imagine. Can I stick up in there? As you said, tenement yard, it always trigger. There are some sorry about the dog. My husband just came home and they're all very excited. So hopefully that will calm down soon enough. But there always is a song that is triggered in your mind when you hear certain words. So for me, tenement yard, I hear Jacob Miller, dreadlocks can live in a tenement yard. That kind of song. So anyway, just continue.
Yeah, so I still have images of many beds because it's like, and my uncles used to sleep head and tail just to make sure that there is a lot of violence. I mean, I've seen men shooting at men. There's a very funny story. Two men arguing one day. I've never seen this before. One with a knife and one with a gun. And the man with the knife, back down.
What?
Sounds like crazy stuff, but such was life in the inner city. But I got saved. Everybody who is listening to me, here is the pivot in the story. I became a Christian at age 14. That was the most critical decision of my life. And I'm not saying it because it's mushy and it's a nice thing to say. The biblical worldview in a tough inner city community provided a perfect way of thinking in terms of discipline and focus. And I think that was a huge part of why I was so focused on my exams, because of just the discipline that came from being a Christian. I grew up in Church of God of Prophecy. Big up all the prophecy massive.
Yes, and, well, yes. Yes, continue.
Yeah, no, and in prophecy, I mean, the 29 most prominent teachings. So you had to be disciplined. And because of my prophecy upbringing, very proud of my prophecy heritage. I don't drink alcohol, even though scripturally, you drink and you don't get drunk and you're fine. But having been exposed to the rigors and the strictures of the 29 most prominent teaching, including avoiding all alcohol, I am happy to report I don't take any alcohol, and I don't regret that, even though scripturally. So I'm just saying that was kind of my background in terms of the community, and I got saved. You ask another question. I just knew I liked accounting, and I feel sorry for some young persons who don't know what they want to do. And I could spend a whole long time talking about the virtues and the merits of knowing what you want to do early. It saves a lot of time. And
Well, we can do that for another show
that really helps
because
me
that's
a
a
lot.
very vital topic.
Yeah.
I wanna, well, I voiced it to you. My concern about a particular thought process or mentality that pervades our society, and that's the eater food mentality. I'm just gonna jump right into our stuff, and as I say, I like this to be as organic as possible. So I don't really have any script questions for you, right? From where I sit, I currently live in Dunbeholden, in Greater Portmore. I met my husband and he lived here. So, he wasn't going to come into my mother's house, come live with me. I had to come to be where he is. And, my Facebook fans know him as the real big man because that's what I call him. Hashtag the real big man. And, I get to sit on the sidelines and hear a thought process that never entered my psyche at all. Though I did not lead a sheltered life by no stretch of the imagination. But Done Beholding has been a wake up call is a wrong word, wrong phrase, but a culture shock for me. And this thing about eat a food, you just want to eat a food, so there is no plan for later. You just want what you can get now, the eat a food now. You don't think down the road. I find that there is no long term planning. I think partly because this is my view now, partly because the young people see no real hope for the future. But I believe that whether or not you see hope for the future, you must plan for tomorrow.
Yeah.
So tell me about a young person growing up in the inner city now, no have no steady job. How him plan for him financial future? I mean, first thing we know is to get financially literate, but we got to that in a minute. But how him plan? How him get there?
All right. So the first thing, and I'm gonna use an anecdote to try and answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
The planning for a stable financial future does not necessarily start with understanding the whys and the wherefores of budgeting and pension management and estate planning. It doesn't necessarily start there. I would argue that it starts with a spark in your belly when you look around you and you realize how your parents struggle. There is something, at least in me, that said, I want to help my mother and my siblings to not have to stay in this. And
Mm-hmm.
having that why, and a lot of talk out there about purpose, whether you're corporate or in your individual life, but it's a real thing. So
Mm-hmm.
once you establish that why, once your eyes are open and wide enough to see the poverty and the pain, then the next thing kicks in. And in my case, I quickly realized that I had to get something between my two ears. And
Yes.
it's a very simple thing. They say education is a key, and I'm a living testimony of that. So I realized
Mm-hmm.
that I needed to generate money, but based on the fact that I never had a family with a big business or a big name,
Mm-hmm.
I realized that the asset that I could use is wisdom and knowledge. And I relentlessly absorbed that and found out that I liked accounting. I did the
Mm.
research. That
I'm,
was my
I'm not.
thing. Somebody else might like something else.
I'll give you a little joke about accounting and me when you're finished.
So what I'm saying is, and this is something that I really don't understand, and I just don't understand. If somebody is growing up poor, yes, there's gang violence and so on, but you see how your parents struggle. They send you to school. I just can't understand how somebody would just waste their time on school. That's the part that maybe, and I just saw it completely different, where I needed to become part of the solution in helping my parents, and I saw where I could study my books. Let me tell you how serious I was. I used to play football for Jamaica College, the greatest high school in the universe, and nobody can take back that top there, right?
My bestie is
And
gonna come on shortly and dispute that because he went to
and
KC and you know how they are.
by the way, all the schools are good. I just said that
I
to
know,
provoke.
man.
And I was a pretty good player, and I realized that Manning Cup would have taken up a lot of my time. So I stopped training for football and poured all of that energy into my books. So I'm just saying, everybody who is listening to me right now, especially if you're from the inner city, when we say education is the key, I think it was Mandela or somebody like that said, education is the power of the powerless. When I look at certain
Mm.
situations that I'm in right now, certain access that I have, if it was not for the education, I would not have gotten access. And it's literally a key. So look around you, make a decision to improve your family, and use your natural gifts and talents to turn around your situation. Very simple.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't have a magic answer.
No, and there really is no magic answer. It really starts with you. So I'll give you my little joke about accounts. There are two things that stump me: programming and accounts, which my colleagues and my friends find quite hilarious because I am the go to person that people would call, or one of the main go to people that people would call to support a payroll called TurboPay that's on the market. And I will sit down and write a database in Access, and then the minute it hit me, that is programming and doing, bam, I just can't do nothing more. It's the same thing with accounts, right? I did accounts at O levels 4 times. I stopped when I got a D.
I'm not
it's
laughing at
like
you.
it's like physics. I stopped. I got F twice and then E, and then I got a D, and I said, you're not enough. All right, so that was my little joke about accounts. So I would like to say good evening to our viewers. Thank you for coming in. We're talking with Bruce Scott. I haven't even done a little lower third for him, but he's a financial educator and chartered accountant, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about money management today. So Bruce, so it's the basically, as with everything else in life, it starts with you. It's not what people say. It's not what them say. It's what you see as your situation that you
Hmm.
want to fix.
Hmm.
All right. So how can a young man or young woman save out of I'll tell you this. In my whole encounter with people supporting payroll and so one company manager actually asked me this question. Of course I won't call the person's name because I'm not about shaming people, but the person said to me, Sylvia, how can I stop paying minimum wage? And I said, pay more. All right. I knew what he was asking, but I just said, pay more. So what we find is that there are a lot of people working at minimum wage and below, especially now in COVID times when people are not going to work fully for the week and so on. Can they still save in situations like this? What does it take?
Yeah. Wow. So you've answered part of the question, right? So to be able to save money, you need an income. Duh.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
here is the thing. In answering that question, right? First thing to do is look at the things that you really need,
Mm-hmm.
the must haves.
Mm-hmm.
So if you earn $14,000, let's say you earn $50,000 for the month, which is
Mm-hmm.
fairly modest. The first thing to do in trying to save money, there's something that they call the 50-30-20 rule, but I don't really want to go into that except
Mm.
to speak to the principle that governs that law, right? What do I
Mm-hmm.
really need? You must have your four walls. You need food, you
Mm-hmm.
need clothes. If it is
Mm-hmm.
that when you look at the stuff that you really need and it is greater than the $50,000 for the month, I hope you're
Mm-hmm.
following what I'm saying, right? So if you
Mm-hmm.
then you have a problem. That you don't even have time to do something that you would like a want. You probably want to go and eat out maybe one time
Mm-hmm.
for the month. You don't
Or
have
buy a
that
new wig,
space.
although I'm not a wig person, but
You don't have that space.
Mm-hmm.
And in the course, we use this very scenario. So if it is that your needs are greater than your income, then you have basically one option. increase your income. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you can go to the boss for a raise. That's a whole nother drama. You can get a
Mm-hmm.
second job, but
That's another
lots of
drama too.
there are lots of online opportunities though. Gone are the
Mm-hmm.
days when you require a lot of capital to start a new business. But
Mm-hmm.
there are some very powerful, very relatively quick online channels. There's Upwork. I don't know if you've heard of that site.
Yes, yes.
And you there literally is a marketplace. You upload your
Mm-hmm.
resume, they match you. There's Fiverr. Um, you can learn a new skill. So the real message here is for you to save, you need income. If your
Mm-hmm.
income is so small that it exceeds your needs, you need additional source. And the other thing too is that sometimes I have a thing in the course that we call um, trim, chop, increase. So sometimes when you look at those needs, there are opportunities to trim, there are opportunities to chop. Maybe somebody is
Mm-hmm.
struggling right now because they live on their own instead of trying to get a roommate.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe their taste right now is much higher than they're really supposed to. So
Mm-hmm.
it's simply looking at your needs. Now, if it is that your needs are less than your income,
Mm-hmm.
then you can indulge yourself a little bit. You
Mm-hmm.
can't just be on the needs. We're designed for entertainment, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
always tell people, regardless of how tight your financial situation is,
Mm-hmm.
leave a little bit of money for those wants. Spoil yourself a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
not to the point where it starts to affect your ability to save. So the
Yes.
bottom line, you should try and target at least 10% of your income to save. Then in the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, they ask Arkad,
Ah.
yeah, they ask Arkad, how comes you're so rich, Arkad? And he basically said, don't despise the simplicity of what I'm about to say, because
Mm-hmm.
truth is always simple. And he said, all I do, if I earn $100, I take out $10 first. And I
Mm-hmm.
force myself to live off the $9. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And in forcing yourself to live off the nine, it means that you're going to have to make some tough choices. And that's
Yes.
part of the problem. Savings is
Mm-hmm.
also a psychological thing, it's also
Mm-hmm.
a behavioral thing. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of it is affected by the culture that we live in. You're
Yes.
bombarded by certain persuasive ads, you're bombarded by images on Instagram. So it's
Yes.
a psychological as well as it's mathematical.
Yeah. Okay, I'm glad you mentioned The Richest Man in Babylon. And I am actually the audiobook is free. I see it on YouTube. So viewers, I'm gonna put a link to it because it's a very good book. My bestie told me about that book, and I remember I bought one for my stepdaughter, one for my grandson, one for me. I don't know what they have done with their books, but somebody borrowed mine, and that was the end of it. But it was a small book, and I remember he said he put 10% for himself, 10% for the gods, and then he kind of apportioned it. Now I had a savings plan based on that. In Yes, thanks. In 2006, and it worked very well for me. But here's my problem. And this is me growing up. I am a giver. So my hands stay right,
Mm-hmm.
and while that is not a bad thing, what happened is that I found myself in a situation where I was giving out, but for some reason I lapsed in the whole savings plan. So what I had was 10% of my 10% tithe, 10% savings. I think I used to do 20% savings. And then 5% for entertainment. Um, and I would have, that's how much, 10, 10, 5, 25, and I would use 25 to service debts, and I would live off the rest. Okay. No, that was good because I I was able to turn over money a lot in those days. But then rough time started and I didn't scale down, and I only have to hear a sub story. Well, not anymore. I'm more discerning now. But I only have to hear a sub story. Somebody need help, and I will empty my pocket. And God does that to me too, He will just I'll give you a story. One day I was in half a tree and I heard a little voice. Can somebody give me some water, please? And when I look, I was standing by the clock, and there was a little man who was just dirty, sitting there. And he says, I said, you want some water? He said, yes. I walked across the table and I started to buy the water. Thank you very much. The real big man just give me some tea, you know. um, and I started to buy the water, and then the Lord says to me, buy him a cup of tea and two patties. So I bought him a cup of tea, two patties, and a bottle of water. I'm coming back over halfway across the road. A man is crossing and he starts to cuss me. So he says something like, if you are my woman, me give you a good beating for that. You take your money, spend pan homeless people. Of course, I don't pay him no mind, right? So I went across and I gave the little man the stuff. So I'm crossing back over. I look down, I don't see him. Okay. But I look across the road and the same man that is cussing me, he is searching his pockets. Like him lost something. So he's literally turning out his pockets. And the Lord says to me, the $2,500 in your pocket. Now I want you to hear those. The $2,500 in your pocket. Please take it and give it to him and tell him that the Lord says you're to bless him with it. So I'm nothing if not obedient. So I walk across. I took out the $2,500 and I handed it to him. And I said, the Lord says I'm to bless you with it. Lord, what a way God loved me, blah, blah, blah. Now, I stood up where I was because I said, okay, Lord, I'm waiting on your next instruction. He says, go across to York Pharmacy. I go across to York Pharmacy. I get a phone call. My friend who lives in Portmore says, Sylvia, I'm in town, and I just have a feeling I should call you. I say, I'm at Camino, no money in my pocket, you know. The Lord just emptied my pocket, right? So I said, well, I'm at Mother's in Half a Tree. And yes, I do need a ride over. She said, what? I'm at York. She said, walk down to Mother's. So I did. She picked me up. So we're going over. And she started rummaging her handbag. And I thinking that it's toll money she's looking for. And she says to me, you know, I went to the ATM a while ago, you know. And I just felt I should just draw this for you and give me an envelope with $5,000. Right?
Nice.
But that is when the Lord talked to me. But there are times I do things because really, Bruce, I've been through the hunger thing. I've been through the 3 weeks living on hot water, stomach bleeding, the whole shebang. I hate to see somebody hungry, right? So I had to learn that what I have to do, you know, to get back on track now, because I found myself at 54, 55 years old, not having any savings. It's not just giving it away, but it's also spending it for real things, you know, but not continuing with the savings plan when things got hard, because I don't really need much to live. I just want to know me light and water pay, and half of the time me fasting anyway. So you know, I don't really eat. I don't really eat a lot. According to my husband, I don't eat enough to keep a bird alive. But the point is that I had stopped the plan. So, you know, when I went to the Lord and I said, Lord, this is what has happened. How did I get here? He said, you stopped the plan. You could have continued the plan still, you know, and you would still have savings. So I found myself now, whatever income I get, however sparse it is, I take out 10% from my tithe and 10% to my JMB account, which I don't even, the card want to sort out, I don't even sort it out, because I'm an Amazon person, me a gadget person. I use them, you know, don't just buy things I don't use them. I use them. I found out online window shopping is the save for later option in the Amazon shopping cart, right? But I have disciplined myself not to just up and buy things just like that. So a lot of times when I was doing an impulse shopping stuff, I stopped that. Fontana used to say Fontana time and money, because they do have nice things and I like nice things. But then I had to curtail that, because I realized that all I was doing, I was buying the stuff and then I end up giving it away. Partially because I get bored with it like 2 days later. So obviously it wasn't something that I really needed.
Right.
So, you know, but there's the thing that I have a high school education. I've had several businesses. But what about the back to the young people. I'm gonna get back to my age group in a minute, but the young people who don't finish high school, who don't and I know it's incumbent upon them to finish their education, but and the whole partner stuff. Um, how do they get started? That's the thing. I know, for example, and I try to tell as many young people as I can that the Heart, for example, has an app now on Google Play where you can download the app and you can see whatever free courses are there. And that's a good way to get your education kick-started again. But tell us about your course. Tell us what you think these young men, young women can do. And I'm talking adolescents going into their early 20s.
Yeah. All right. So for the age group that you mentioned, the younger persons, your income is going to be your biggest wealth building asset. And there's a gentleman by the name of Dave Ramsey. He quotes this expression a lot, right? Your income is going to be your biggest wealth building asset. And I'm going to use myself as an example. So at your age, you're still in high school, or maybe you're just entering university. Your number one priority. Sylvia, are you there?
I'm right here. Just didn't
Oh,
want you to hear
oh,
me slurping my
oh,
tea.
oh, no, sorry, never mind. So your number one priority is to put yourself in a position similar to probably what I did to get the best A levels or CAPE degree. So you put yourself in the best income earning position. It's very basic. If you don't have an income, you're going to lose your ability to save. I know persons who, and I'm not going to call any names, but somebody that went to school with got somebody pregnant at an early age. We're keeping this real.
Mm-hmm.
He felt obligated, which I understand, to just go straight into the world of work
Mm-hmm.
without a degree and so on. He's going to earn less, right?
Mm-hmm.
I never had that stress, and I think I talked about my Christian worldview earlier and how it
Mm-hmm.
really helped to protect me from certain things. I hope you guys
Yeah.
are listening to that. So I was able to continue to go on to become a professional accountant, qualified in very quick time. So my income, this the point I'm trying to make at this stage, your number one priority is to try and get the best education that will land you the best job, that will give you that relatively good starting income. So by the time I finished my professional exams, my income was way up here, but his income was way down there. And even if he had not gotten the young lady pregnant, there are other young persons who maybe they can't afford it, or maybe they don't realize the importance of the advantage of
Mm-hmm.
having higher education. So that's the number one thing. You notice I haven't even gotten into savings and investing and budgeting. I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying
Mm-hmm.
the foundation for your financial freedom and independence is your ability to earn money. Your ability to earn money is linked to the knowledge that you have and the relevance of that knowledge. The scriptures teach, see a man skilled in his ways, he will stand
Mm.
before kings. He
Kings,
will not
yes.
stand before obscure men. So now
Mm.
that you have the income, you are in a position to save. There are some cultural forces that I alluded to earlier that even though you have the income, you have to be aware of them. My people perish because of lack of knowledge. And
Come knowledge, yes.
I call them the four horsemen of the financial apocalypse. That if you don't know them, then we'll run you over. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of them is, I call it YOLO. You live only once.
Mm.
This bamboo fire mentality, where
Yes.
people just want everything right now and
Mm-hmm.
not understanding the importance of saving, not
Yeah.
understanding what the scriptures talk about in Proverbs 6, where the ant was patient enough to put aside stuff in the summer, knowing that
Mm-hmm.
winter is coming.
That's right.
We're bombarded with a debt culture. You can get a brand new car paid over 10 years, and you're paying a very small monthly. I have
Mm-hmm.
nothing against loans. I'm just saying borrow wisely. So I'm just saying that there are cultural influences.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a culture of debt. We live in a culture of keeping up with the Joneses and impressing other people and going on
Flossing.
expensive vacations and
Mm-hmm.
showing images. So with those cultural forces, and plus people not putting the emphasis in getting that education to get that income, and thirdly, basic financial awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Having an emergency fund, having life insurance, understanding basics of investments, understand what the stock market is, understanding what bonds are, understand how you make money off the stock market, or you make money off real estate, or you make money off starting a business, planning for your family, saving towards a house. All of those things will come, and we teach those things. But for the younger persons, my number one message is focus on building your
Education.
knowledge, because
Mm-hmm.
that will give you the revenue or the income. Then you're in a position to save. Understand the cultural influences that will take your money out of your pocket, and then you go on to understanding the more fundamentals of how to grow your money, how to protect your money, and how to sow your money, which is what the course covers.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about the four horsemen of the financial apocalypse. You know, you just caught my intrigue there. You only live once. You say is one of them.
So YOLO is one,
Mm-hmm.
keeping up with the Joneses, and all
Mm-hmm.
that means is that persons are seeing people on Instagram and Facebook, and many times those images are not real,
Not
and they
real.
start to feel like they need to keep up, and they will go and charge stuff to their credit card that they don't have. The other one is the lack of financial literacy.
Mm-hmm.
Most countries in the world, it's not just a Jamaican phenomenon,
Mm-hmm.
don't teach financial literacy in high
That's
school
true.
and college. There are some states in the US, and it's just not taught, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
people come out of the school earning money. So, in the same way that we're taught math and science, I
Mm-hmm.
believe we need to start teaching persons about the basics of money. So, you're coming, so the other horseman is you don't know what's a credit card, you don't understand minimum payments, you don't understand all the charges, you don't understand emergency fund, you don't understand life insurance, you don't understand wills and estates, and you have money. And because you don't understand, you make what I call money mistakes. Um, so I talk about YOLO, I talk about the lack of financial literacy, keeping up with the Joneses. And the fourth one, which I alluded to, we live in a culture of what is the monthly payment,
Mm.
not looking at the total cost of ownership. So the longer you borrow, the more expensive it is going to be. The shorter you borrow, you're going to pay more every month, but you're going to spend less in interest. So in the course, I have a calculation that I show for somebody who borrowed something over 10 years versus somebody who borrowed something over like 3 years. And the person that's borrowed over 3 years saves a lot of money in interest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if those are just for look, there are times when you have to go along when you're borrowing because you might live far and you really want a car.
Mm-hmm.
So you borrow to get the longest period to get the lowest monthly. I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about the awareness that when your income allows you to refinance that loan to get it
Mm-hmm.
to a smaller monthly period, there are persons who are still paying this small amount and paying all this interest because they just don't know about the total cost of ownership. So
That's true.
those four forces will help to keep you poor. YOLO, culture of debt, keeping up with the Joneses, and a lack of financial literacy will rob you.
I agree. Um, all right, so let's look at my age group now. All right, I'm currently 56 years old, going into my 60s. Starting over with the whole savings thing.
Right.
I I've always been intrigued with stocks, so um I just tell this joke. I actually did own shares in Supreme Ventures one day, and when I recommitted my life to Christ, he said, you have to sell those shares, and I'm going, but I want to make back my money. And he says, Sylvia, and he lead me to a scripture. I can't remember it now, but it's in the book of Kings, where Samaria and Judah were at war, and the king paid 18,000 talents to some mercenaries. And the prophet came to him and he said, the Lord says, you must not go to war with Judah. And he said, but I already paid $18,000. It's sorry, 18,000 talents to these mercenaries. And the prophet said, can the Lord not give you that back and more? Now, I found that interesting because I paid about $25,000 for my shares. And by the third day after they they went public, it devalued to 18,000 something. And there it stayed. And so I sold the shares. I reinvested in, I started looking at long term stuff now. So my thing is renewable energy. Even where I live now, every lamp, every light I have outside is a solar light. Okay. Um, so I invested in Wigton, which I will say is doing well. But I look for stuff like that, and I consume information, so I read up a lot. But not many people do what I do, and some people want to do like a fixed deposit because I think that's the best thing for them. I'm more of a risk taker, so I will take measured risks.
Mm-hmm.
But starting over,
Mm-hmm.
for me, it was a matter of just putting the money in an account that I'm not touching.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, it turns out that I need glasses again. I don't have a good track record with glasses,
Mm-hmm.
but I need them now because I use the computer a lot. And so I was able to find money to pay, at least make the down payment and whatever. But income is not sure for me right now,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? But it's improving. Um, there are skills that I have that I can capitalize on and plan to capitalize on. Uh, where I sit, I would tell somebody in my position, look, what are your skills? What can you do? What can you turn over? A friend of mine started a pop-up kitchen because she's good with cooking, that kind of stuff. You take it from there. What would you
All right.
say to all that?
So if somebody's like as young and like Sylvia, if at 56.
Yeah, man, I'm young because, I'm going to a Moses. I'm going to a Moses, so we're just in
Right.
a middle age.
So if you're 56 and you don't have any savings, right? Let me contextualize. Let me paint the background. So what that means is if you're that means well, there may be persons who are also 56, Sylvia, who have a job, but the job may not have a pension plan, right? The company may not offer any pension. So really what I'm trying to say is when you reach that age, that retirement, that formal, in quotation marks,
Mm-hmm.
age. So because we're not just, we're talking to people who have a day job as well, who are maybe
Mm-hmm.
56.
Not like me who don't plan to retire.
Right.
Yeah.
So the problem you're going to have is when that income stops,
Mm-hmm.
where you're going to get money from to meet your basic needs, right?
Exactly.
I'm gonna
Basically, yeah.
I'm gonna come back to your question. So there are four potential sources of income when your normal source of income stops. Like remember when
Mm-hmm.
the brook dried up with Elijah?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So when the brook dries up, where does the money come from? Normally, if you're part of a pension plan at work, you will get some income from that. So Sylvia, in your case, it doesn't sound like that's going to work for you.
Mm-mm.
The second source is that the government, if you used to contribute towards the national insurance, it's not anything
Insurance.
to talk about, but it's
Yeah,
money.
but it's something, yeah.
It's money, right? And then the third source is your own personal investments,
Mm-hmm.
which is where most persons, quite frankly, would have to look to survive in those pension years.
Mm-hmm.
But in order for you to have money in your pension years from your own personal investment, it's going to go back to the vanilla 101 discussion that we were having earlier,
Mm-hmm.
your ability to save money, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
you're 56 years old and you don't have any savings, what I would say to you, and this is going to be radical now, you look
Yes, I'm hearing you. I'm
at
hearing
the
you.
house that you live in and you ask yourself, how much is this house? I'm not telling anybody. By the way, I should have given a disclaimer. I'm not giving financial advice. This is for financial education and empowerment. And please speak to your financial advisors before you make any decision based on anything that you've heard on this program, right? So one of the things that somebody could do if they're 56 years old, let's say they live in a house, the house is valued at $15 million. They probably don't need, this is tough talk now, they probably don't
Mm-hmm.
need that space.
Mm-hmm.
They probably don't have a lot of debt on the house.
Mm-hmm.
they may need to think about selling that house. I'm speaking very guardedly here, right? I'm not saying you should sell your house. I'm saying you could consider moving to a smaller house,
Mm-hmm.
and you might find that you have a two, three, $4 million in your hand
Mm-hmm.
because you sold and you were able to get into a smaller place. Another
Mm-hmm.
option is you might have a car. The car might be valued $2 million, $3 million. You could start taking the bus, sell the car, cash in. Remember the context here, you know. The
Yeah.
context is that you do not have a pension income coming from a job
Yeah.
or any other source of income. So what you're trying to do is to gather enough cash to start to invest that cash so that when you hit that age, I mean, I'm not encouraging you to stop working, but you're going to need the money to be working with you, even if
Mm-hmm.
you continue to work. So you're going to have to make some
Yeah.
radical decisions. The third thing, which you touched on already, is what you have in your hand. God said to Moses, what you have in your hand, use it,
Ah.
use it,
Hold on
right?
one second, Bruce. We have some other viewers who have joined us. Welcome. Thank you for coming in. We're talking with Bruce Scott. He's a financial educator and chartered accountant, and he's giving us some pointers, not financial advice, as he just said, but some pointers for empowerment and how to help us to get to a place of financial literacy and financial management. Go ahead, Bruce. Continue.
Yeah.
Third thing.
So in summary, I was just saying, if you're in your 50s, you're gonna have a huge problem when you get to that age where your day job stops. So you're gonna have to start preparing your. I actually encourage persons to do their retirement budget while they're still working. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, I have projected what my income is like. I'm not I'm still a little way off, right? But it just shows you how you need to plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to log in and I see what my pension balance is. I know what my personal investments are, and I can
Mm-hmm.
project. So the rule is you need about 70% of your income that you normally make in retirement. So
Mm-hmm.
if you earn $100,000 while you're working,
Mm-hmm.
roughly speaking, you're gonna need about $70,000 a month.
Okay, that's a good guideline.
Yeah. Now, and then you can start to see the expenses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Certain expenses are going to drop. Your food bill should drop. Your kids might move out. Your health expenses might go up. And so
Mm-hmm.
you can literally, and you're ideally should have no debts at that time, ideally.
Ideally.
Because, yeah. So the point is, if you're listening to me and you assume, let's say you return tomorrow, there's inflation, but just keep that out of the way for now. You're making 100,000. I'm gonna need
Mm-hmm.
70% of that. That's 70,000. You can
Mm-hmm.
quickly estimate what your expenses are going to be. Your
Yeah.
expenses maybe 50,000. Your question is, where am I going to get the 70,000 from? All of what I said earlier, where you move to a smaller house, move to a smaller car, using the skills that you have, go on Upwork, go on Fiverr, do some additional jobs. That's how you're going to start to close the gap. It's not
Mm-hmm.
going to be easy. It is
No.
going to be very, very rough and tough, which is why the younger persons who are listening to me, especially if you're just starting out, the best thing you can do, if you take nothing else from this course, is to start to save at least 10% of your income automatically.
Mm-hmm.
Send it to one of these. You talk to an investment advisor, they can advise you as to which of their products, and let it
Mm-hmm.
just be deducted automatically. In the course, I have a calculation where I show if a young person, age 22, over the course of 30, 40 years, 35 years, if they were to save an average of 100 and I think 20 US, maybe 20,000 Jamaican dollars a month on average over the. Listen to me, guys.
Mm-hmm.
If you're able to save 20,000 Jamaican dollars over 35 years, that thing will grow to a million US dollars by the time in that 35-year period. So by
Yeah.
the time you're in your 50s, and you would have to increase it by the inflation rate each year, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it still has the
Yes.
purchasing power.
Yes.
And that's another point. Wealth does not come overnight. It
No.
takes a
Yes. So
while.
the microwave thing not gonna work.
No,
Not gonna work.
Ponzi schemes don't work.
Mm. Um. You
You said a
know,
lot.
there's a book that I read recently. Well, listen to. Well, audiobook. You listen to them. You read it. Called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And guys, I'm gonna put the link to that. I think it's available on YouTube also if you want to listen to it. It's a very good book. I think he's a Christian, and he talks about how making one small change in your life can actually um, make a big difference. You know, it's like a ripple effect. You know, you throw, because let's face it, things that we do don't just affect us; it affects everybody around us in one way or another. If I go back to 2006, when I was really earning money, and I remember I decided to start tracking my expenses because I was earning money, but I wasn't really seeing it. I mean, I had savings, but I wasn't. It's like I can't account for something. I still release you because I don't want you to pass out on me.
I'm good.
Okay,
I'm good. I'm good.
okay.
I'm good.
Um, I decided to use an accounting program, QuickBooks, to start tracking my expenses. You can use a spreadsheet. There are a whole lot of templates available. But I discovered something. I was on the road almost 20 hours a day working. So I ate out a lot. But I was also spending about $30,000 to $40,000 on grocery. But what was happening to my grocery? It was spoiling because I wasn't there to cook it. And so I decided to stop buying groceries since for that season, I was always on the road anywhere between 15 to 20 hours a day. Okay, so it's not likely I'm going to come home to cook, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I just stocked the fridge with stuff that I know I could eat and make a quick snack in the night. So, like
Mm-hmm.
maybe some chicken burgers or juice or something like that. And what I found is that I started saving something like an extra 40 or $50,000 a month,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Just that
Mm-hmm.
one small change made that big difference. But you
Right.
have to know where your money is going.
Right.
If you don't know
Right.
where your money is going, you're just spending in a vacuum,
Right.
right?
Yep.
So if you decide that you're a giver like me, you have to know that okay, this month I'm gonna budget $10,000 and that's all I'm gonna give away, unless the Lord said differently in a
Yeah.
particular situation. But this is what I'm giving to help people,
Yeah.
right? Because we are blessed to be a blessing, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you have to know where your money is going, because if you don't know where it's going, it's one thing when you can't. Let me tell you, during that time, if it's even a sweetie I buy, Bruce, I would record it. You understand me? If it's even a sweetie, I would record it because it drove me crazy when my money couldn't balance. I know I made X amount for the day, and I come home with, so where's the rest of it? You understand?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so you have to, and it takes discipline. It
Yeah.
takes discipline. It can feel tedious, even if you only do it for a year. That kind of scrutiny of your money, even if you only do it for a year, one, you would have developed the discipline of managing your money. Two, you will know where you're spending money that you shouldn't be spending money,
Right. Right.
right? and
Right.
and know where to bolster where you should be spending. Like for me, I just decide I ain't putting foot in Fontana Pharmacy unless I need a journal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because the only thing I plan to buy in there. Because if I go in there, I'm going to see mason jars, I'm going to see all kind of stuff. And I have mason jars here that I don't even use yet. So I don't see the
Right.
point buying anymore.
Right. Right.
I remember I went into, I think it was a Barbican store in there, and I was looking around. And what I learned to do is pause before I spend. That's my little thing. So even though I am tempted to buy XYZ, I say, okay, can I get this cheaper anywhere else? And I wrap my brain. Maybe I can get it at Azan's cheaper. Maybe I can get it at Bashko cheaper. Um, so I don't have to buy it here,
Right. Right.
right? So I remember I was in the Barbican store, and this little guy comes and he says, "Can I help you?" I said, "No, I'm trying to see how I can walk out of here without spending any money." And he goes, "I wish you luck." And I said, "The blood of Jesus." And I just walk out there with my money, and I think that was when that broke for me. I just decided that because they are the only people I see that sell the kind of journals that I like to use. So I will
Yeah.
go there at the end of the year and pick up the journals I need and just get out of there. Because I know that's my weakness.
Yeah.
You understand me? And I don't save my debit card. I gave up my credit card. I don't save my debit card on Amazon. So although I can remember the number if I want to, I have make myself have to go through the trouble to find it, to put in the number.
Yeah.
These little things help me. It may not work for other people, but it
Yeah.
helped me. So you have to do what you can to get yourself to that place. Or
Yeah.
tell us
So
about. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, no. So that last point that you made, it's one of the 14 steps to financial freedom. It's living on a budget. And some people, when they hear about a budget, they think you're talking about locking them up in a cage and throwing away the key.
Mm,
That's so the title of that section of the course is called Budget to Save.
mm-hmm,
And it that is one of the main objectives, right? So it's
mm-hmm.
setting limits on your needs, setting limits on your wants, and you
Mm-hmm.
stay within the boundaries of your needs and your wants in order to hit your savings target. Because if
Yes.
you do not have savings, you cannot build an emergency fund. If you do not have savings, you cannot pay off your high interest debt. If you do not
Yes.
have savings, you cannot maximize your pension contribution. If you do not have savings, you cannot increase your investment towards your child's college fund. If you do not have savings, you cannot invest on the stock market or in bonds.
Exactly.
And if you do not have enough savings, you will not be able to give as much as you would like, because the Bible says we must love our neighbors as ourselves. Yes, there are
Ourselves.
exceptional circumstances where the Lord will leave you with empty, but
Mm-hmm.
that's more the exception than
That's more
the
the
norm.
exception than the norm.
So if persons are listening, one of the fundamental points is to live on a budget. And I'm not talking about any fancy footwork. Get a blank piece of paper. Needs. What do I
Mm.
need to live? Wants. How much time can I eat out, or I want to this the nice stuff. But make sure that you hit that number that you need to save to accomplish the goals that you have. I give you a quick thing. Persons will call me, Sylvia, and say, Bruce, I'm getting $1 million, some back money. What should I do with it? And when I start to ask them some questions, because the first thing that they want to do is to go and put it on some investment. And I say to
Mm.
them, first question, and guys, I hope you're listening. Do you have 3 to 6 months of your living expenses saved up? So in other words, if you need $100,000 to live, you are going to get $600,000 from nowhere. And
Mm-hmm.
I say to you, do you have 300,000? That's 3 months worth of living expenses, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They said, no, I don't have it. So I said, but how you can take the 600 that you're gonna get and invest it? Because if you take that money and put it on the stock market, and your roof have a termite problem, or your car have an engine problem, you're going to go and take that money off the market to deal
Yeah.
with your roof, and the market might be down at the time.
Yeah.
So in the course, I talk about, are you really ready to invest,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you need to get certain things out of the way. It doesn't make sense you're investing in bonds and CDs when you're paying the minimum balance on 48% credit card interest every month.
Exactly.
Doesn't make any
Exactly.
sense. But some people feel like I'm investing,
Mm-hmm.
but you're earning 10%, 12%, and you're paying 48%. So really what I'm saying is I'm underscoring that point that you made about going in the pharmacy. It's basically living on a budget. You establish the needs, you establish the wants, but make sure you come back to what you need to save to hit the financial goals that you have.
Mm-hmm.
If your savings target is not enough, you try and get additional streams of income, manage
Mm-hmm.
the impact of that on your family, and make the tough sacrifices.
Yeah. Just two things I'd like to point out that I caught myself doing. Or the first thing is me have a luxury. Two actually. Coffee and cheese. Okay. I'm a coffee person. I'm in love cheese. Okay. I discovered that the brand coffee that I buy in the supermarket costs about 2,000 something, which includes tax. Yet when I go to a particular store, now I'm gonna buy in a free ad. I think I don't give one company free ad already. um, I can get 2 packs of that same coffee for the same amount of money plus a little extra. Okay. Also, I normally go into the supermarket and I pick up several blocks of cheese.
Mm-hmm.
The pre-cut cheese. The what they call it, bulk, the bulk cheese, and I put that in the freezer and use as I need. But I also that discovered that the same place has a 2 kilogram block of cheese that if I come home and I discipline myself and cut it up, what I do is I put what I'm not gonna use right away in the freezer. That I ain't going to, and you have to use an electric saw to cut through that if you're trying to munch on something, right? So I usually just cut it up in portions and then wrap it in parchment paper, put it in an airtight container and put it in the freezer. So I just take out a piece as I need and it lasts me for a whole month. What I'm saying here is that, okay, let's say you have a luxury, because to me coffee is not really luxury, but luxury to some people. Um, Item that you like and you feel you can't do without, find a way to buy it cheaper. Okay. The other thing, I caught myself doing this the other day. When I said the other day, I mean about a year ago. I got some lump sum money and I went, oh, I have X amount of money to spend. And the Holy Spirit gave me a check in my spirit. And he said, Sylvia, you don't have the money to spend. You need to change how you think about money. So I had to change how I thought about money because I realized that when I think like that, I
Mm-hmm.
am looking every way to don that money.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
Mm-hmm.
if I think of it as, okay, I can, if my first thought is to put away some, that changes my whole perspective on the money that I have. And so recognizing that helped me a lot because I when I look back over my history, I was like, oh, so all I really do is just, because I think like that, I just say, oh, I have the money to spend.
Mm-hmm.
No, I have
Mm-hmm.
it to save, but I'm gonna spend some out of it for my needs. Big
Mm-hmm.
difference.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to look also again at our mindset about how we think about money. What's your first
Mm-hmm.
reaction when you get money in your hand?
Mm-hmm.
Is it that,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I can spend it on XYZ? You
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so what I
Mm-hmm.
want to ask you, Bruce, do you have is your course an online course or is something that you do face to face or over Zoom or what?
All right. So right now it's live via Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
I will at some point have it on demand where you can
Mm-hmm.
just go and listen. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, I'll be running the course sometime in October in the Eastern Caribbean
Mm-hmm.
for 2 half days.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna be an amazing time talking about the 4 steps: grow your money 9 steps, protect your money 3 steps, sow your money 2 steps. So it's
Mm-hmm.
live right now. I actually teach the course to my alma mater, Jamaica College, fifth
Mm-hmm.
and sixth farmers and
Mm-hmm.
teachers. So we
Mm-hmm.
had one round of it, ended in March. There was summer and so on. So we're gonna start another one. It's over 8 weeks, but it can be condensed to 6 weeks. There
Mm-hmm.
are practical exercises. There's a
Mm-hmm.
hundred. There's a multiple choice test of 100 questions that cover a wide range of topics.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of it, you'll be financially empowered. You understand the 9 steps to grow your money, the
Mm-hmm.
3 steps to protect your money, and the
Mm.
2 steps to sow your money. And the sow your money part is really about to whom much is given, much is expected. To
Yes.
seeing somebody in need
And
and not
helping them
waiting for that person to
to
ask.
ask
But
you.
so it's ultimately coming back to I'm a steward. I have goods God has blessed me with. How can I use it to establish His kingdom? How can I use it to help those in
Blessed to be a
need?
blessing. Yes.
That is ultimately. If you want to be happy, learn to give. Wealth on its
Yes.
own will not make you happy. There's enough
Exactly.
evidence of that. It's when you
Yeah.
release it, then it brings the joy. It's a paradox, but that's how it works.
And I think with all my mistakes that I've made about money, I think the fact that I give, and this will be the first time I'm ever talking publicly about it, but the fact that as a friend of mine would say, my hand is just open like that because I think that has helped me a lot and has saved me from disaster. I get help from where I least expect it, when I least expect it, how I least expect it. But what I want you to do for me is when you're gonna do that course, if you have a flyer, please let me have it so I can share it out in the channel and so on.
Yeah.
And definitely would want to see that course grow. And looking forward to when you have it on demand also.
Yeah.
Well, Bruce, it was fun.
Sylvia,
I
before
enjoyed.
you close, can I
Yes,
just make one last point?
sure.
One of the things that I've observed, especially when I ask persons to do like a 12 quick diagnostic, almost 8 out of 10 persons, when I ask, do you have a will? A will, guys, is how you plan to transfer your assets after you die. Most persons, 70% of Americans, do not have a will. And I know that it's about the same in Jamaica.
I would say it might be more.
When you don't have a will, guys who are listening to me, the government, through the intestacy laws, I'm not an attorney, you can speak to your lawyers, but this is general knowledge. The laws of intestacy will determine how your hard-earned money is allocated. So, for example, if you are married but you're separated, and that person move on but you're still legally married, if you are still legally married, that person will get a part of your estate. And if you have nobody to leave it to, there's no wife, no children, it's going to go to the government. So if you don't have a will, get up from where you are, drive to the pharmacy now at 9 o'clock and buy the basic one and write up your will. Lots of persons are dying in COVID, lots of pain with families squabbling because no clear instructions were left. And it's the
Mm-hmm.
laws of intestacy. So I'm challenging everybody. If when you do your will, it doesn't mean you're gonna die tomorrow. Your steps are
Uh,
ordered by the Lord. You will be okay.
exactly. You will be okay. You're not saying, "Oh, I'm predicting my death." I totally agree with you. I actually started on mine a couple weeks ago. Um, and so I'm looking to try and finish it up. Not much is there, but just in case something is there, that it is known at least how it is to be divided up.
Right.
All right, Bruce, thank you so much. I
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate you coming on. Folks, you've been listening to Bruce Scott, financial educator and chartered accountant, and thanking him also for coming on and being a part of the show. Have a good and wonderful evening, Bruce.
Thank you. Thank you, Sylvia. Thanks for the opportunity. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Okay, there'll be no best to chat tonight because Peter is not feeling well, so just keep him in your prayers. But I have Daniela Blake, who you will hopefully will see her picture very soon. But she is the author of a book called Kingdom Builders Mindset, Renewing Minds. If I can remember of it, Renewing Minds to Lead Transform Life. But she will tell us about it. If I can just get her on, Daniela, your mic is muted. Um, but I want to talk about her book. Listen, I am actually the publisher of the book. Hold on a second. Oh, thank you for coming in, Violet. I really appreciated your presence. Um, I don't normally write reviews or apart from hi Daniela, see you there. Uh, about the books that I publish. I don't normally give a publisher's review, but I'm gonna tell you this. This book written by Daniela is a crucial book for people who want to live the kingdom of God life. And what I like about the book is that Daniela is raw and honest about her life and how the word transformed her life. And it's actually a devotional. Daniela, your mic is still muted.
Oh,
See if you
I'm
can sort
sorry.
that out. Okay, got you. All right. So she shows you her life story in this 40-day devotional, which actually shows you how the word transformed her life, transformed her mindset to be a kingdom builder. So this book is all about what the kingdom builder's mindset should be. Daniela, tell us a little about the book. I'm not going to keep you long because I know the constraints you have. So tell us a little about the book, and I will post the links to the Amazon purchase in the description box later on. But go ahead and tell us about the two books. Oh, it's two books, by the way. She thought she was publishing one book, but she ended up publishing two. Go ahead, Daniela.
Good night, everyone. And good night, Miss Sylvia. It's finally nice to see your face.
Oh, yes. He would have been doing his WhatsApp. Oh, by the way, if you can, I'd like you to read an excerpt from Call to Action. I don't have the video on this machine that you had sent me. So
Okay. Well, it's the first time I'm actually navigating this kind of
this
stream. So
platform, don't worry
yes,
yourself.
so I'll see how best I can. But good night again. Kingdom builder's mindset. I can tell you that I did not start out thinking about writing a book. It's just that, I have been going through a whole lot, and my escape is basically writing, so whenever I feel pressed out a measure, whenever I feel like, I want to give up. And then, inspiration would just come, through the different situations that I faced, and for me to be able to like really keep a track of these kind of revelations and inspiration that come, I normally journal. So from a long time ago, I love writing, and so that's my escape. And through the many series of things that I have been going through, I realized that God was actually talking to me through these many circumstances. I've often suffered with, depression, and I've often suffered with, thinking always on it's hard to take us forward. I take a million steps back. Like every time I try to like do my best in serving God, I feel like I am doing my worst, and so guilt and suicide and a lot of stuff was on my mind. Despite all of those things, I still see, because I'm
Daniela,
somebody
Daniela,
also who loves
we,
to read.
Daniela, we're having a problem with your
Reading,
audio.
that's basically help from each time I touch that situation and I would write how I feel. Okay,
All right,
you're not hearing me?
I'm hearing so, but you were breaking up. But I understand what you're saying, and
Are you hearing me?
we're gonna do a further interview with you on another day. But what I'm gonna do right now, I'm actually looking for your book on Amazon, which I don't know why it's taking so long to come up. Ugh. All right, let me put in your name. Let me put it. Oh, no wonder I put Daniel Blake instead of Daniela Blake. Lord, forgive me. Uh,
Yes.
your name Daniela. All right. Okay. They autocorrect it and put back Daniel. What is wrong with these people? Kingdom. This is not the real interview I'm gonna do with you. So I just wanted you to pop on to introduce you to my viewers because I am really so proud of that book that you have done, Daniela. I am really impressed with a book. Trust me. But you, this one really is. I'm gonna share my screen, guys, so you can see Daniela's book on Amazon, and I want you to go out and get it because it really is a game changer. Not only that, it also has a pocketbook called hold on, let me see if I have it there now. All right, there it is. I'm gonna fill the screen with it. All right, that's the Kingdom Builders Mindset, Renewing Minds to Live Transformed and Victorious Lives, a 40-day guide. She also has one called Kingdom Builders Mindset, Calls to Action. And what it is really, so the cover is the same, except that one will say calls to action, What it is, it's really, the book is divided up like this. So each day has a scripture reference, it has a devotional, and her story related to that, and then it has a call to action at the end of each day. Now, the calls to action book is a little 6x4 pocket book that you can just stick into your handbag. So basically, the idea behind it is that once you have done your devotion for the morning, you carry a little pocket book with you, and it helps to just keep what has been studied that morning reinforced in your mind. I don't know where Daniela disappeared to. I think her internet connection was iffy, but I just wanted to just let you know about this, and we will be interviewing Daniela on From the Rooftop very soon. Ah, she's back. Yes, Daniela, you kind of dropped off there for a bit, but I was showing them your book on Amazon, because, I have to show off about you, because I'm proud of you. I'm proud of that body of work that you have done. Are you there? Unmute your mic. Unmute your mic. Your mic is still muted. Daniela. Let me see if I can unmute it from here. No. You have to unmute your mic, Daniela. Ah. Yes, I was just saying how proud I am of you and that particular book, that body of work that you have done. I'm looking forward to more from you, Daniela. And we will be talking to you further on From the Rooftop. We'll soon let you know the date. We can go into a more in-depth interview with you, and hopefully by then your wireless situation will be sorted out. But if you want to hear about the book before that, Daniela will be on Sun City Radio at 5:35 p.m. on October 8th, doing an interview about the book. So tune in, be sure to tune in and listen in to her. Any quick words before I go, Daniela? Before we go? Hello? Okay, we seem to be having a serious issue here. All right, well, thank you guys for coming. Thank you for being here with me. Oh, I did want to share something with you. Hold on. Daniel, I'm going to take you off screen for a minute, but you're not out of the stream. So guys, I was sharing with you guys with Peter the other day on some books that I'm writing, and I wrote a poem in Overtures of the Bride. Let me see if I can find it for you. Okay, it's called When I Think of You. When I think of you, my heart beats faster, my step becomes lighter. I cannot help but smile, delighting in your presence. When I think of you, my mind tries to take in the expanse of you, unfathomable God that you are. When I think of you, I'm driven by a deep-seated desire to know you more, to dive into you. When I think of you, I want to be absorbed by you, soaked through with you, till all anyone sees in me is you. When I think of you, my senses are heightened, becoming sensitive to your touch, to your presence. I am undone. I'm undone. When I think of you, I can just close my eyes and gaze into yours and experience your sweet and abiding love. And that's a poem from the Undying Love series. Um, and that book is The Overtures of the Bride. So, thank you all for coming. Thank you for being here. Please feel free to like, comment, and share. Let me just stick it up there. Yeah. And there's some very sound information that was shared in today's interview with Bruce Scott. So please feel free to make your notes. And when he's having his course, we will do a promo on this channel because we believe in empowering people as well. Thank you so much for coming. Tune in tomorrow for another Meds in the Morning. Have a wonderful weekend. Bless somebody today, and God bless you. Have a wonderful evening. Now, if I could just find my outro, I would be very happy. And as usual, I can't find it. All right. Oops, no, wrong one. Sorry. Work no. I'm sorry, guys. Oh Lord, I have to laugh. This thing always mess me up. Alrighty then. This was Lammy. Have a wonderful evening.